Hey, what's going on everyone? In this video I'm doing a review of the new second generation Nexus 7 tablet, which just released shortly in July of 2013, which is just last month. For those of you who aren't aware, the first generation of the Nexus 7 tablet released last year in, I believe, of July of 2012. So this is the one that just released recently. There is a LTE model that's going to be releasing quite shortly. This is the Wi-Fi only version, okay? And before we continue, I just want to let you guys know that you can see the LED. There is an LED notification light on this generation version of the Nexus 7 this time, whereas last year's didn't have one. There it is. Okay, so for those of you that want to see some camera samples or some gaming demos, or heck, if you want to see me root and then maybe eventually when Clockwork Mod recovery and all that good stuff is available, I will be definitely doing those kind of things, but in separate videos. I can't do it here because I made this video way too long. So if you want to see the gaming demo, how to root, etc., you can wait for the annotation links at the ending of this video, or you can just expand the description below and there you'll find all the video links. So just simply expand the description below and you'll find all those video links there. There's an LTE version. Again, I only have the Wi-Fi only version. The dimensions of the device is 114 by 200 by 8.65 millimeters, and it's weighing in at a very light 290 grams. This thing is very light. If you want to get to the exact details, according to Google, the screen is precisely 7.02 inches, but basically speaking, it's 7-inch screen, 1080p HD IPS display with a resolution of 1920 by 1200, and of course has a PPI of 323. The screen itself is protected by scratch-resistant Corning glass. As for the interior specs, it has 2 GB of RAM, a Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 Pro processor at 1.5 GHz, which is basically the same thing that was found in the Nexus 4 phone, which released in November. As for the GPU, it's an Adreno 320 clocked at 400 MHz. There is finally a rear camera on this version of the Nexus 7, which records at 1080p at 30 frames per second. And of course, there's a front-facing camera which records at 720p at 30 frames per second. There is a 3950 milliamp lithium-ion non-removable battery. It does support wireless charging, Q compatible, of course. As mentioned, there will be an LTE model of this tablet released shortly. For now, there's Wi-Fi only, which is actually dual-band Wi-Fi, which supports ABGN. There's GPS, Bluetooth 4.0, micro USB port for charging and connecting to computer, and the USB port also supports Slim port connectivity, which I'll explain later on. There is also a NFC chip inside, obviously, for those of you that want Android Beam support or just general NFC support. As for storage, there's a 16GB and 32GB model. You can choose which one you want to buy. However, there is no micro SD card slot, so you can either get the 16GB or 32GB, and that's all the memory you'll have, unfortunately. As for the system itself, it comes with Android 4.3 stock Jelly Bean, so it's basically pure Google version of Android. There's no extra fluff or no interference, and you're gonna get updates from Google really quick when there's an update available. As for what 4.3 brings new to the table since Android 4.2.1, basically you get better profile support on tablets, you get better GPU support. The GPU will run a bit smoother on most phones and tablets. And of course, Bluetooth power management is a bit better. So if you have something that's connected with Bluetooth to your Android device, the power management on battery will be a little bit better. So Android 4.3 doesn't actually bring a lot. It's not a huge difference, but that is the newest version of Android currently. As for the design of the tablet, the bezel is still fairly large, even as last year's model was, which is kind of disappointing, but not a big deal. On the bottom, we have the micro USB port for charging, to connecting to your computer for transferring files. And yes, if you have a slim port adapter, you can actually hook this up to your TV via an HDMI port and mirror whatever's on your tablet on your TV. On the left side, you have nothing. On the top, you have a 3.5mm headphone jack, or you can hook it up to a auxiliary port or something on your stereo system. On the right, you have a power button, volume rocker, microphone. On the back, you actually have the logos, Asus, Nexus, 2 speaker grills at the bottom, speaker grill at the top, and of course the rear cam with no flash. Okay. At the front, you have the front-facing cam, and you guys might be able to see. I think that's a light sensor right there. Okay. Surprisingly, there's no car dock or any dock connectors on this tablet. They weren't really successful in the past. I guess Google just realized, hey, let's just scrap that idea. As for the lock screen, you have the very generic, Android stock lock screen. You can, do just a simple unlock, add some more widgets here, and of course you have Google Now. You can just swipe up from the bottom. So nothing too fancy, nothing too special there. talking about screen clarity, let me just say this one thing. If you guys are watching this in 1080p on YouTube, despite the screen also being 1080p, you will not get the full potential of the screen clarity. That's because when you upload videos to YouTube, YouTube compresses it and lowers the quality slightly. So to really get an idea of how clear the screen is, you must see it in person. But I can say that watching movies is fantastic. Even if you're watching a 1080p movie MKV file, it runs butterly smooth. Of course, that also depends on which video playing app you use, because the stock video playing app isn't that great, but if you find a good one on Google Play, you're pretty much set. In terms of general clarity for pictures, all these pictures you're seeing right now have a higher resolution than the screen itself. So I'm basically getting the full potential of the screen right now while viewing pictures, and I can say that the colors are pretty vibrant. I've seen clearer Android screens, basically let's say the Sony Xperia ZL. That's probably due to the Bravia engine, but I can definitely say that this is indeed a 1080p screen. Colors are pretty vibrant, the images are pretty crystal clear, and viewing angles are pretty good too. You're not really, getting a faded, washed out color from certain viewing angles. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to be doing a speaker test for you guys. The tablet will be lying flat on its back, so basically all the speakers on the rear side on the surface. The volume's on maximum. It's just a simple YouTube clip from my channel. There's no loud music, there's no explosions or any kind, it's just me simply talking in another review video. So let's do the speaker test. It's not dust resistant, okay? The ZL is considered a different device. So with that said, let's get to the actual review, starting with the hardware and physical design, and then moving into the software. So the device itself has dimensions of 135 by 73 by 10 millimeters. Okay, so I was able to hear the dimensions I was giving out just now. In the other review, I can hear everything word for word, extremely clear, despite me giving exact specs of the Xperia ZL in a different video. So the speaker on this tablet is pretty fantastic. Really loud, I can hear everything clearly. I'm probably 30 to 35 feet away, so sound carries awesome on this tablet. Alright, so as for the keyboard itself, you have the stock Android keyboard. I went to write hello, but instead I wrote help. Hello, YouTube. This is a review video. It does a fairly decent job. There you can see this is what I was typing. It's not as good as Swipe keyboard on Google Play, but it does a fairly decent job of predicting my words that I'm trying to write. So the stock keyboard is pretty good, let's just put it that way. In terms of general browser speed, this is the BBC UK news website, the desktop version, not the mobile version. And it handles things pretty well. Let's see if I were to move, zoom in rather. Just quickly shift all over the place. You'll see there's like pretty much next to no lag. So in terms of general browsing test, the tablet runs just fantastic. Of course, it's also dependent on your internet speed, but just handling large websites, it does a good job. So for those of you that are familiar with my videos, you'll know that I am not a fan of benchmark tests, but there's some people that want to see them. On a quadrant score on this tablet, I was able to get 5,609. Basically, I guess you could say that's pretty darn good. If you want more details, look it up yourself. Because like I said, I'm not a fan of benchmark testing. I'm going to do an intent to benchmark test. But let me just say, I feel that a tablet or phone is truly tested with high-intensive graphic games or multitasking. But let's just get into the Antutu score. Okay, so on Antutu benchmarking test, I was able to get 18,287. Again, benchmark tests don't really mean much to me. More of a practical usage tester, playing some high-intensive graphic games. And I can say that this thing, I had no lag on any video game that I played. These are some really high-intensive graphic games. If you want to see that gaming demo, again, just simply expand the description below and there you'll see a gaming demo video. But I can say that this thing is phenomenal as a gaming device. So let's talk about the cameras. I'm not a fan of rear cameras on a tablet, but I have to say that for a tablet, the rear camera is decent. It's never going to be great, not for years to come anyway. But it's pretty decent, 1080p quality. It's okay. You get a little bit of stuttering here and there, but it does a pretty decent job. As for the front-facing camera, for web chatting and stuff, it's more than adequate. For general video recording, it's okay. Again, it's not great, but it's alright. It gets the job done. That's what matters, I suppose, for a front-facing camera. In terms of battery life, okay, battery life, basically, as advertised, it has about 9 hours of active random usage. It's basically, I guess, according to Google, web browsing, surfing the net, posting on Facebook or Google+, using YouTube for sound, video playback. I would say that's pretty accurate. 9 hours is pretty accurate. However, when it comes to gaming usage will be the most straining thing on this tablet, obviously because the processor is at maximum speed, the GPU is being pushed, sound is blasting, the screen is being pushed to its, everything's being pushed to its maximum potential. So with gaming usage off a full battery, I was only able to get 5 hours. So obviously that's going to happen because gaming uses a lot more battery power, but that's basically what happened. If I had to give this tablet a score, I would give it a 4.5 out of a 5. And here's why. You're getting a great tablet at a great price. Google has, when they release a Nexus device through their Google Play Store, they're usually reasonable. The only exception is probably the Nexus 10, but this tablet is priced really, really well. You're getting really great bang for buck, believe me. The screen itself is outstanding. Whether you're watching a 1080p movie, looking at pictures, reading a book, an ebook rather, or even just playing video games, the screen is phenomenal. It's really sharp. Of course, there's also slim port support, so mirroring whatever's on the tablet to your TV via a slim port adapter is always going to be a big perk. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there that would love to utilize that feature. As for gaming experience, I mentioned this already, but you'll have to see it for yourself in the gaming demo video down below. Just expand the description, there you'll find the link. But gaming on this thing is fantastic. It's extremely smooth, very fast. I had next to no lag at all playing some of the top Android Google Play games. And with that said, obviously if gaming is going to be smooth, the UI and the general responsiveness of the tablet is fast. I mean, overall, it's just a very, very quick, responsive tablet. And of course, another perk, it's extremely thin. This thing is very, very thin, and it's extremely light. It's so compact, it fits in one hand very, very comfortably. Of course, it depends on your hand size, but for most people, it'll be pretty comfortable. And the speakers on this thing are fantastic. They're on the back, unfortunately, but there's dual speakers on each side, top and bottom. So speaker volume on this thing is fantastic. And lastly, and probably most important, this is a Nexus device. So you're getting stock, clean, unaltered Android straight from Google, which also means that when there's a new Android update available, you're going to get it first most likely because it's a Nexus device. Google's going to push it straight to this device first before any other device out there. However, there were a couple of cons that prevented this tablet from getting a perfect score, unfortunately. Now the first con is a minor one, but I have to mention it. The bezel is just a little thick for today's standards. A lot of phones and tablets are starting to get thinner bezels. This one's still really thick at the top and at the bottom. Not a major con, but it is one. A major con, however, here is that it does not have a micro SD card slot. Unfortunately, Google refuses to add them in Nexus devices, so if you get the 16 gig or 32 gig model, you're stuck with the storage amount. You can't expand because there's no micro SD card slot, unfortunately. But nonetheless, 16 or 32 gigs might be more than enough for most people, so that's why this tablet still got a great score. If you found this video useful, check out my website in the description below, hit the like button, it does help, subscribe, and thanks for watching.